Hi, and welcome to the Thank You Notes podcast. My name is Travis McVeigh. I'm an anesthesiologist from Dallas, Texas, and I love thank you notes. I love them so much, I decided to make them into a podcast. Today's guest is one of my favorite people. Now, dear listeners, you are familiar with this man, but you just don't know that you are. The music that you heard at the beginning of this show, and you will hear again at the end of this show, is from a band called Toyesauce. The guitarist for Toyesauce is Leon Toye. He's been my friend for over 10 years. When he's not shredding his Les Paul, he's a radiologist practicing in Nashville. We get into our friendship, how we met, his passion for guitar, the Austin, Texas music scene, and Marvin Berry. What I like about Leon, and what I tried to highlight in this episode, is how he throws himself at his passion, how hard he works to not just maintain it, but grow it. So let's get into my chat with Dr. Leon Toye of the band Toyesauce.
Oh, my shit was flipped up, words unspoken.
All right, well, this is the Thank You Notes podcast. Do you write thank you notes, Leon?
I do. It's been a while. It's more something that I guess I grew up with as a kid. Had Catholic mom and lots of guilt to send thank you notes for everything. Show appreciation. It's important.
Yeah, I guess I was guilted into it as well, and it's stuck with me.
Yeah.
I didn't even appreciate the Catholic aspect because I grew up Catholic myself. What was the last thank you note that you wrote for?
These days it's usually through email and text and that sort of stuff, right? Those things get more blurred compared to a handwritten one. I haven't written a hard copy letter that in that kind of format probably since like the 90s, I would think.
Okay, well, I guess we should tell everybody a little bit of how you and I know each other. So I had to spend a few months in Dallas during my training because a hurricane hit the hospital I was training at. And I ended up doing an OB anesthesia rotation with a woman named Amanda Lau, who was dating you at the time. And then you guys end up getting married and we stay in touch. And, a couple of years go by and we've been friends for, since 2008. So 15 years.
Yeah. Time goes by fast.
Very, very fast. One of the things that you and I bonded over was music, and you were an excellent guitarist. When did you start playing guitar, Leon?
I guess in the 90s. In college and whatnot, I went to high school and had a little, high school band, and one of my best friends at the time was and still is an amazing guitar player. And so I started picking up bass at that time and noodling on keyboards just to kind of be able to do something musically with him. And then going to school in UT Austin, as you know, was very inspiring, especially at that time period to do something musical. And there were so many great guitarists running around Austin at the time that I realized I needed to do that. And that kind of has never left.
Why did you pick the guitar, or did it pick you?
No, at the time, it was really my high school friend that was such a badass. I don't know if we can say ass on your podcast, but it's out there.
That's the first ass I think we've had.
At any rate, yeah, I just remember talking to him on the phone, and there was like this amazing guitar going on in the background, and then I'm like, wait, is that you? And then then the guitar stops because he was like half listening to me, half playing, and then, oh yeah, that's me. Yeah, so that was kind of, I always wanted to do that. I was a big Van Halen fan back then, and Steve Ray Vaughan, and all the Austin stuff.
Yeah. What was your first guitar?
Actually, I can show it to you. Your listeners won't be able to see it, but it's a homemade guitar that we basically, it's kind of a pawn shop piece of garbage that, I couldn't afford anything decent at the time. And we kind of took this old pawn shop guitar and made it pretty interesting. Here, I'll show you real quick. So we had the idea of my friend actually had the idea of making a guitar out of a 2x4. And so we kind of took that idea. The guitar that we got, the pawn shop guitar was really heavy. And so I needed something to kind of play that was lighter. So my brother and I turned it into this.
Oh, that's awesome. I've never seen that before. You've never shown that to me.
Yeah, I've geeked out with it some, and actually just was recording a song with it last week. And yeah, it's called the Woodpecker. Obviously, showing something on a podcast seems stupid, but I'll describe it. It's basically a miniature guitar that looks almost like a 2x4, and it's called a woodpecker, and it has a picture of Woody Woodpecker on it.
Okay.
That's flipping the bird,
Mm-hmm.
which seems logical. The original version of this woodpecker I drew, a long time ago, and then I recently had the guitar. I sent it to a luthier, which is a guitar maker, and had him
Right.
kind of trick it out. And they put a Floyd Rose in it, and he took the original, cartoon woodpecker that I drew forever ago, of flipping the bird, and scanned it and made a digital version on a sticker that now has it on there. And my brother,
Oh, wow.
my brother lettered, the artwork on it, but it plays great. And but yeah, that was the first guitar, and then over time just kind of started getting real guitars, I guess.
Okay, so is that a Stratocaster neck that you just picked up and then you attached to a 2x4, or?
No, this is literally the guitar. This was the neck that came on the garage or on the pawn shop guitar.
Mm-hmm.
And then we took the body and cut it down because it was super heavy, which works out okay because it's actually fairly balanced now. And then we made this like removable magnetized thing so that you can play it on your lap.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's actually pretty handy. What kind of pickups did you put into it?
It has DiMarzio pickups in it. Sounds pretty good. It kind of sounds like maybe like a Gibson. Not so much a Les Paul, but somewhere in between, something like it. And then it's got that Floyd Rose on it to do all the old school Van Halen things.
No, I didn't know you did that. That's really cool.
Yeah, I should have brought it out when we were playing in Dallas, but it looks fun. It's not the most ergonomic guitar to have, but
doesn't look like it. Yeah. It'd be hard to play and stand and play that thing.
It's hard to sit and play it because it doesn't really have a great rest, but to stand it's okay. It actually is almost better that way. When did you start playing guitar?
This is where you turn around an interview on me. Let's see. I was a freshman in college, and friends of the show will remember episode 1. Ben Fu was my guest.
I heard that one.
Yeah. And he'd been a guitarist for his all of his teenage years, and he had some math requirements that he had to get through, and he didn't want to do calculus. And I was like, well, I did all this in high school. I can do this in my sleep. And he said, okay, well, just help me with this, or just do my homework, and I'll teach you how to play guitar in exchange. Because I would go into his room and just pick up the guitar and start like screwing around. And if for somebody that's an actual guitarist to hear somebody who doesn't know anything like picking and plucking, it's like, it's so annoying. And he's like, I have to teach you how to play, otherwise I can't listen to this anymore. I said, okay. So
you had a barter system trading calculus for guitar lessons with a Chinese guy.
With a Chinese guy, yes. And then he ended up moving away from UT after that first year. And I worked a job that summer, and I took some of that money and I spent like $600 on a Martin guitar, like a really, really nice one. And I still have that to my day. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I just kept playing, and I was 18 or 19, and I just kept playing since then. And I took lessons off and on, and I got a little bit better, but that's when I
we used to have a lot of fun when you'd come over and I'd play the drums crappily, and you'd play your acoustic, and we'd mash out old Dave Matthews tunes and whatnot.
Fun. I can't play it's honestly the Dave Matthews that got me to kind of stop playing, because I could never get the songs to sound like he did, and I could never get the songs to flow like he does.
Mm-hmm.
And I practiced for hours and hours and hours, and I could not, like, the song so much to say. I knew all of the notes, I knew all of the licks and everything, but I could not play them in a way that it sounded smooth. It's
the right hand that I'm continually I'm rediscovering how important that is. Like, and Dave, I think he's on the spectrum too. So he has he does things very unconventionally, where he'll do partial chords, just using, instead of doing the full chord, he'll do the 1 and the 3 in a weird version of it. And then he's got a very distinct strumming pattern. Those are the kind of I guess the two things that really kind of count for him. And then he's got that amazing drummer, right? Carter Beauford. And so I think they play off of each other and then challenge each other to do odd time signatures and whatnot.
Right. Yeah. So I got to where I could play most of that stuff, but it just got to, I reached my ceiling pretty early, just where I was going to stop, and I just couldn't get any better without, deteriorating my personal and professional lives. So
yeah,
I capped out. You don't seem to have hit your guitar ceiling yet, though.
well, I mean, I live in Nashville now, and so it's like a whole nother shakedown. I feel like I kind of needed to go into somewhat of a hibernation and study it a lot more, which I'm still doing right now. I do recording and whatnot, but in terms of, I haven't gigged since we moved here, and I've just been basically recording and practicing and studying it, trying to, just because everybody's so good here, like everything else, like if you take it into the medical analogy, with every aspect in training, there's a new shakedown, right? So like if you do well in high school, you're in maybe the top of your class in high school, you go to a good college, you're in the top of your high school class, then you go to medical school, and it's like a new shakedown now in medical school. There's a whole, it's at each step there's like a re-equilibration and a new humbleness that you have to digest for a while.
Yeah. Is getting back into the performing gigs? Are you going to get back into that? Is something you want to do, or?
I'd like to. Yeah, it's very time consuming to do that. I'd like to do that. Yeah, I'm like I said, I wanted to kind of get some more chops behind me before I do that, and also just kind of have some more songs written to actually perform.
The thing that always amazed me when I hear about Nashville musicians is that the band that you go see at some bar on Broadway is not always a quote unquote band. That group of people doesn't always perform together. It's just a group of musicians that they come and they know a set of songs, and they'll say, "Oh, well, this is a country song. It's a 2-3-6 in G. Let's go." And they can do pretty much anything. Yeah. And they don't have to have played together for, dozens of years. That just blows my mind.
Yeah. I mean, well, these people are just so good, and that's what they do. I mean, it's interesting. Like they talking to a lot of folks recently, I've heard repetitively that they view it as a conversation, and it's basically music is the language, and these people can, when you get to that level, that you can just, have a conversation back and forth, and you're not really worried about, the sentences and making sure that things are conjugated and whatnot. You just talk back and forth, and how's your day?
Mm-hmm. I remember when I was taking lessons, my teachers would send me a YouTube video or something of some amazing guitarist, and you get to a point where you can tell the guitar what to do, and the guitar will do it. And that's how you have the conversation, that I have this idea and I immediately know how to put it into the guitar and put out what I want to put out. Somebody like me, the guitar is allowing me to do what I'm capable of doing and no more. But I never was able to flip it to where I could tell the guitar what to do. Does that make sense?
Yeah. I mean, I think you're putting a limitation on yourself. I bet if you spent some more time with it, you could do that. I mean, I've heard you play. I know what you can do. I suspect if you wanted to and focused on it, you could do it.
Well, we can get into talking about Toyesauce now. You have recruited some world-class musicians and found some songs to play. Tell us about Toyesauce. How did it come from? Where did it come from? How's it going?
Yeah, I mean, it basically kind of started after moving here. I was just finding other keeping my eye out for other musicians I wanted to play with, and and stylistically what other people were doing, and I found a couple of players here that were great horn players, and I wanted to put a funk band together or something like that. And I had some songs from prior days that I wanted to actually get nice recordings of, and so I found a great sax player that was local, and some other folks, and then I was trying to find the right drummer, and so I was running around asking people, hey, well, I'm trying to find a drummer that can play like Stanton Moore. and then Amanda, my wife, and I went on a trip to New Orleans, and Stanton Moore is this for people that don't know is kind of he's a famous funk drummer from New Orleans, plays in a band called Galactic. So we were going to New Orleans just to visit, and I knew that Stanton did lessons, and sort of at the last minute I had the idea, hey, maybe I'll email him and see if he would do, a private lesson just for fun, since we're going to be in New Orleans. And he didn't get the email until after we'd already come back, maybe like a week later or whatnot. But then, he said, well, hey, I'm going to be in Nashville, playing with Galactic. If you want, we can do a lesson there. And so, long story short, we did that. And at the end of the lesson, we kind of got to know each other a little bit. And I told him I had some original funk songs, and I just thought I'd throw it out there. Hey, would you ever consider playing on them? And so he said, well, yeah, send them to me and I'll check it out. We can, perhaps do that. And I sent them to him, and we did, and came out with a couple of songs. So that, after getting him, that kind of opened the doors to then, well, hey, if that worked, I wonder who else we can do. And so we recorded a couple of songs together, and with like him and some great horn players from here in Nashville, and somebody actually went to med school with, played bass on the songs, and he's a killer bass player named Craig Gleiberman. And then COVID happened, and so we all had a lot more downtime. I think people weren't doing much, of course. And so I was sitting on the sofa and came up with a new song that sounded like the Meters, which is a amazing funk band from like sort of the 70s. So I talked to Stanton about, hey, would it be possible, do you think, to get George Porter to play on the song, since it sounds like a Meters track. I wonder if he would ever do it. And so we could ask him. And so, yeah, I just sent him an email, and he did it. And that just kind of, it basically has been sort of that story, just, you never know what people will say until you ask them.
It's true. Worst thing they can say is no.
Right. And then after you get some momentum, it becomes easier to do stuff, just like everything else, right? After you go in incremental steps, and, after you accomplish one thing, then you can move on.
Were you a big fan of funk, like in the 90s, like when you started getting into music, or is that something you've kind of gotten into recently?
I think in the 90s in Austin, around that time, there were a lot of funk, blues, rock, fusion things going on. So much where people are almost like making fun of it. But it was great. Like it was a very much a contrast to the other music that was going on, like sort of mainstream, right? So at that time, you had like guitar solos were way out of vogue. Everything was like grunge, Nirvana, Seattle, heavy bass, great vocals, great drums. Guitar was kind of it was almost like, let's play the guitar as crappy as we can.
Yeah.
And that was sort of the one vibe. That was sort of the mainstream vibe. But then in Austin, which was its own kind of universe at that point, they had that, but then they combined it with, there's a lot of these funk things going on that were kind of like combining 70s funk with like sort of Stevie Ray Vaughan, and then also have some the 90s dark bass and whatnot. And it just kind of was cool and worked. And so I was really into that. And that was, I guess, the initial thing. And then, Bob Schneider's bands, Bob.
I know Bob.
Yeah, he definitely had a huge funk element for a while, and had the Scabs and all that stuff. And going to see the Scabs on Tuesday nights was very, I guess, formative as well. I was like, geez, man, this is an amazing thing. Having a big 10-piece band with horn section, everybody's dancing. It's like, I want to do that.
I remember the first Scab show I went to. It was probably 2001, maybe. And it was insane. I'd never been to anything like it.
Yeah.
It was really loud. There's a 10-piece band, and Bob actually left the stage for about 15 minutes.
There's no telling what happened while he was gone.
Yeah, no telling. And I don't know. Does this mean this guy is like really egotistical, or he's like wanting to like shine the light on his band? I don't know, but it left an impact. Like, I still remember that show.
Yeah.
And like the songs are like, they've got a really good groove, but they're also like insanely vulgar. But then there's also some like really catchy tunes. Like to this day, I haven't seen another band like the Scabs, and like the quality of the players was just what stood out to me.
It's incredible.
Yes.
Yeah. Carlos Sosa, amazing sax player. Actually, the whole horn section, they play with Jason Mraz now. They they're called the Groove Line Horns, and they do other stuff. But yeah, I think they're right now they've toured with Jason, I think, a couple of times, and that's currently what they're doing. But they're fantastic. And that scab stuff never really got. You can't really find it, unfortunately, right? Like if you have the old CDs, and you got it, but it's not like it's on Spotify.
Yeah, I used to have MP3s of all that stuff, and then you switch computers, et cetera, and then it gets locked out of Apple, et cetera. So I don't know what happened to it. Every once in a while, you can find some of it on YouTube.
Right. Yeah. But that's my point, is that it's not, unless you have like a hard copy CD, and, or something on an archive, most people, you can't really share that with people. And it was such a great, collection of music.
I did want to ask you, how did you maintain your guitar skills during med school and residency?
That's kind of an interesting thing that you kind of touched on too, right? Like serving more than one master gets challenging, right? Like, in high school, or for a lot of these things, like people, do I become an athlete or do I join band? It's hard to kind of to serve multiple masters and get really good at any one thing. And I feel med school is kind of like all demanding for that, and it's hard to do that. And then as life goes on, and things just become incrementally more challenging, right? Family, kids, responsibility, and to try to walk the line and actually hone skills and get better. I mean, you kind of have to have an early start or a lot of focus. At any rate, yeah, I mean, I basically just tried to cram it in when I could, and hung out with other people that had similar interests. And, we would just, go see a lot of shows. And if we weren't studying, and actually I'd combine the two. While I studied, I'd listen to a ton of music. And so you can kind of digest music ingredients and things while almost subconsciously while you're studying. I used to have a drummer friend that he worked at managed a Subway, and he's an amazing drummer, but he would, like, as he's making sandwiches, or he'd be like drumming on the on the desktop of the Subway, and practicing his rudiments and stuff. And so, I mean, you can kind of cram it in, or as you're driving your car on the steering wheel, you can do these things. And it's hard I think for everybody, no matter what your interests are, to try to divide up your time to actually, if you actually want to kind of do something on a professional level in more than one category, it gets challenging to do that.
I will say med school, I didn't have the money to pay for lessons, but I was able to practice more often because there were spurts of intense studying during med school, but I feel like I had a lot more time off than I realized.
Yeah.
And especially during fourth year, you could pretty much do whatever.
Right.
However, residency, my skills took a huge hit because I literally did not have the time to pick it up.
Yeah. Fourth year, definitely. I had a band in school then too. And we actually made a CD, and we had like a month of downtime or whatever in that thing. And I think I used that month to basically do everything on the CD. I mixed and mastered it myself. And, that took a lot of time, but it was, kind of educational. And and then intern year obviously sucks, but you can, I don't know. I mean, I guess it sort of depends. If you have downtime, and it's a matter of what you're going to do with that.
Yeah. Do you have a guitar and an amp in your reading room? Leon's a radiologist, for everybody who, I didn't give you a proper intro.
Yeah. I mean, I have guitars pretty much everywhere that, have down. I try not to watch TV. So that's another, I mean, I do watch TV, but TV is that's definitely a time sink, right? So if you can cut that out and do your passion instead of it, that you get a lot of time back that automatically.
Yes.
But yeah, if I have downtime when I'm not working, then I have guitar sitting next to it.
I will say the ukulele has kind of helped me. That's because they're small, they're portable, and they're kind of quiet, and you can still get a lot of guitar out of it the more you play it. And so I play a lot more ukulele than I was when I first got the thing. And it's nice because everything's the same, and you can still practice a lot of skills. So that's helped me maintain a level of mediocrity.
I don't know about that. I mean, I think if it was more important to you, I think you could be an even better guitar player than you already are.
Oh, I completely acknowledge that. And I will also say that the kid, I don't want to blame her for anything, but you can't really make noise, especially when she was super young, because you don't want to wake her up. So it's hard to practice that stuff. I guess you can practice on a electric, not plugged in, but
there's something called it's made by Boss. It's called the Waza Air, and there's these headphones that they sound amazing, and you can for an electric guitar you can basically plug it in, and it's completely, it has like an amp simulator, and it goes through your iPhone, and so you can play MP3s on it, and it sounds amazing. So, I mean, the technology these days is just so crazy. Like, it's so much easier to learn stuff, with YouTube and all that. There's so many great apps now. Back when we were learning it, that didn't exist. You basically would try to rewind things as much as you could to try to pick up a tune. Now you can slow down and loop songs. I mean, there are these apps that are free or like a couple of bucks that will take an MP3 and slow it down, but keep the pitch, and then loop it. So, and you can like assign, say where the start and end points are on a particular part of a song, and just kind of have it loop it. Other ones use like artificial intelligence and like tell you what the chords are as the song goes. I mean, it's just crazy, the things that exist.
And there's, some Argentinian teenager that's already made a video explaining where to put your hands,
right?
How to change the pad, like.
Yeah. I mean, like,
tabbed it all out for you. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. I mean, like, there's kind of two different arms of this. There's the YouTube side where everybody, anything you want to learn, having an Argentinian kid teach you how to play the song that you've been trying to learn forever, or have, just the app side of it where electronically, the computer maps it out for you or charts it. It's just crazy.
Yeah. When I first started learning, we had just started getting MP3. So I had Napster.
Mm-hmm.
And so that made it really easy to back things up, and you can even slow it down, and et cetera, et cetera. So, but yeah, I don't envy anybody that had to do it off of a CD or a cassette or even like a turntable. That sounds like torture.
I think the turntable is probably the easier one because you could actually slow it, right? I never did that, but I know people that did, like but when you do that, it lowers a pitch. It doesn't keep the same pitch. The amazing apps now, you can slow them down and it keeps the pitch, and you can pitch change. So if you wanted to learn it in another key, like a lot of, old Steve Ray Vaughan songs, for example, were tuned down a half step. And so then you have to detune your guitar, or Van Halen songs you'd have to modify your tuning to learn that tune or play it. But you can plug it into the app and tell the app you want to play it up a half step, and it'll just transpose it for you, which is crazy. Well, the other thing it does too, these things, they'll remove the other tracks of the song. So it uses artificial intelligence. Yeah. I mean, if you want to hear like the bass track in isolation from the vocals and the drums, it'll just play the bass. It's just crazy.
All right, Leon.
So thank you for technology, Travis.
Thank you for technology. I'm not responsible for it, but Leon, I wrote you a thank you note. So I'm gonna read this to you. Leon, I have a lot to be thankful for when it comes to our friendship. You are downright the most friendly person I know. I have no idea how you find time to doctor, write and play music, travel, and maintain a home and marriage. Thank you for the years of friendship, 15 to be exact, for letting me and my wife tag along on your culinary and travel adventures, and for always being there as a great friend. I'm beyond grateful for our friendship. Congratulations on the success of Toyesauce. I wish I was talented enough to be in your band. Travis.
Aw. That's super sweet, man. I feel the same way, and I'm bummed that we no longer live in the same city and don't get to hang out as much as we used to.
You and me both.
But even though, we don't get to see each other or talk as much, the feelings are still there, and I absolutely value the friendship and with you as well, and cherish all the awesome memories we've had so far.
Yeah, usually we don't miss a step. I feel like we can just jump right into it.
Yeah, I mean, I think we're kindred spirits. We both kind of have a little bit of a unconventional dark side and some darkness.
I don't know what the hell that means.
We're not your typical, super conservative, nerdy doctor, if that makes sense. We have other interests in.
That's true. I feel myself becoming one, but I think I can safely say I'm not a super conservative, nerdy doctor at the moment.
I mean, it's just, it's the nature of the beast. And that's kind of what people want. Like I mean, if you're as a consumer, that makes sense, right? Like when you go see the doc, you want somebody like that. But it's nice to be able to kind of turn that off when you're able to.
Yeah, I don't know that I'll ever really fully make it to that guy. Like I kind of like being sarcastic with patients, and I've only got them for a little bit while they're still conscious, so I have to make it fun. So
right. You have a very special gift of humor, but it's like I could see that some people, like if they don't know that you're joking, that might not always work. How does but then again, you have the emotional intelligence to kind of shift gears when that happens too. But I'm curious how you navigate that.
Well, to start off, I don't have the emotional intelligence to shift gears. That's gotten me into a lot of problems. But for the most part, it's fine. Like I actually got a patient review. So we get these emails that the patients will log into something and they'll write reviews on us. And somebody actually said, like, I love Dr. McVeigh's dry sense of humor. He made everything so much easier and more delightful. Then there's the people that I remember I was putting an epidural in. This woman was really nervous. I was in training, and she was super nervous. And she's like, "I don't know what's going on. You got to tell me what you're doing. Tell me what you're doing. Okay, what is that? What is that?" And I was just back there doing my epidural, and then I said, "Oh, wait! Oh my gosh! She's like, what? I just did that epidural perfectly," and she got furious because she thought I had like paralyzed her or something.
Right.
Like, why would you say something like that to me? You know what I was like, yeah. I'm sorry. I just thought it'd be a joke to cut the anxiety, cut the tension. She's like, absolutely not. Get out of here.
Yeah, I mean, it's in your defense, you were in training, right? So you're that was a training experience. I think another personality style would love that and probably laugh their ass off. But that's a skill and experiential thing too, to be able to kind of read the personality style within a couple of seconds of who you're dealing with and try to, give them what they need.
Maybe I'll get that skill by the time I retire. Until then, I'm just going to go in with my dry sense of humor and hopefully they laugh.
But and a lot of doctors just use the same. They kind of have their menu of jokes, right? Like it's almost part of like it's a skill of it's a job of repetition that's rewarded for that.
Oh, very much so.
Yeah, and so a lot of people have their jokes that they like hit at that exact, almost like at each step of the procedure. Okay, you go through the consent. Okay, I'm going to do this now. You're going to feel some pain here. This is going to last for 2 seconds, and then you like insert joke, and then go on, and then after it goes fine, then you're like, okay, well, it's nice to meet you. Here's a joke, and you know what I mean. It's like, and it's the same joke, and the assistant in the room has heard it a million times and fakes a laugh, and because the patient usually it's almost like you get to try it out, and you find the joke that works for most people. Then you say that a million times.
I'll tell you my favorite one. So you are right that I have the same conversation probably 20 times a week.
Yeah.
But my favorite one, and you don't get to do it very often, is when wheeling the patient into the operative room. So the family goes one way, we go the other way, and like the wife or the husband will say, "Okay, love you, honey, do great." And I said, "Love you too," and it gets a laugh maybe 50 to 60% of the time. That's my favorite one.
What happens the other time? Do they not get it or
nothing? Not absolute silence.
Yeah,
because they've realized it's a joke and they don't think it's funny, and they're being wheeled into surgery, and somebody else is telling their spouse that they love them.
Right.
All right, Leon, who would you like to thank today?
I think I'm going to go the cheese route and thank my wife for being a good sport, and going back to how do you navigate doing serving a couple of different masters, right? And I think in order to continue to hone something that is very time intensive, you need a very understanding spouse. And so my wife is upstairs right now watching TV, and I've been playing guitar for a couple of hours this afternoon, and I just literally got home, and she's completely cool with it and not gonna give me too much grief about it. And we're going to hang out later on today and it'll be good. But not everybody, I think a lot of people are not very forgiving of those sorts of things. And so I'm very grateful for my understanding and tolerant wife.
Yeah. Your wife is very nice and very accepting of you for who you are. The man, the musician, the physician, the mastermind of it all.
I don't know about that, but yeah.
I think you need to get her practicing her harp some more, and she needs to be on the next Toyesauce album.
We've been working on that. She wants to do it. I think it's just kind of overcoming a motivational hump. She's been looking into, harp lessons and whatnot. And I think that's helped her, like with her manual dexterity, doing the job as well. She says that.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I mean, it's also learning new things as you get older. I think is helpful to stay sharp. It's really easy to just kind of go through the same things over and over, but life is all about change and kind of being able to maintain some neuroplasticity. The ability to learn new things is important as we age.
Have you noticed a difference in picking things up on guitar when you were like a difference between you now and like you when you were learning, like when you're 20s?
I don't know. I've been reverse engineering it, if that makes sense, where like I knew things before, but I didn't know what I was doing. And now I've been going back and sort of understanding it, sort of the theory behind it, which has been very helpful. And I really wish I did this years earlier, because I kind of reached plateaus where I was doing the same stupid stuff over and over. And there was things I wanted to do that I couldn't. I knew what I wanted it to sound like, but I didn't know how to make it do that yet. And now actually going back and studying the theory about it is helping me kind of, I'm sure I don't have the same plasticity that I had before, but it's going okay. I'm still able to figure some things out.
It's going okay. I'll stop. Last question, Leon. If you could join any fictional band, what would it be? Or if you could have any fictional musician join your band? So I'm thinking like The Wonders from That Thing You Do. I'm thinking Love Burger from Can't Hardly Wait. I'm thinking Josie and the Pussycats.
Wow. I would probably do the Back to the Future Johnny Be Good band, with Marty McFly.
Oh, Marvin Berry and the Starlights.
Yeah. Yes. That sound you're looking for?
Yeah.
Well, listen to this. Yeah.
I thought you were going to say Marty's band, the Pinheads, at the beginning of the movie.
The one that had Mr. Strickland, where he covers his ears.
Yeah. No, that's a great answer. I like that. Marvin Berry and the Starlights.
I'm glad I remembered Marvin Berry. I didn't remember the Starlights, but I'm glad and not surprised that you remember that.
Yeah. Well, Ben Fu and I got into an argument, episode 1's Ben Fu, and that I didn't think that you could just say to a band in 1955, "Hey guys, this is a blues riff in B. Watch me for the changes and try to keep up," and it would just like come off without a hitch. But he's like, no.
In Nashville, that would work,
I guess. But this was California in 1955. I don't think they pulled that off. But Ben Fu thinks that Marvin Berry and the Starlights were professional enough that they could do that. So
I think so. I think most of it. There's another one. I think that one has a decent chance of happening. So how about Hot Tub Time Machine, where what's his name plays back with his old high school or college band or whatever, and then at the end of it they do what is it?
I know it's Craig Robinson. I forget the name of the band, and I've only seen that movie once. So.
But yeah, I mean they do a what the hell is that band with Fergie? The
Black Eyed Peas.
Yeah. They play Let's Go Get It Started, in the 80s or whatever, and
yeah,
there's no way that would have taken off. It's not like he could just teach that song to these people and it would sound like that recording.
True. No, I agree. I think you need to be with Marvin Berry and the Starlights. All right, Leon Toye, this has been fun. We don't talk enough. Thank you for being a guest.
Thanks, and I hope some of that was entertaining for somebody.
I think it would be.
Thank you, Travis.
He truly is one of my favorite people. Thank you, Leon, for coming on the show, and thank you again for allowing me to use your music on this show. You can listen to Toyesauce on Spotify and YouTube. I have been in touch with Leon since the recording of this episode, and he tells me there should be a new Toyesauce release in the near future. Please like, rate 5 stars, follow, subscribe, and devote yourself to this podcast wherever you get your podcasts. Visit the website and follow my social medias. The links to all of this are in the show notes. The email address for the show is thankyouNotesPod@gmail.com. Send me thank you notes, memes, recipes, whatever. Thank you for listening, and we'll see you next time.